My husband is very wealthy, but I don't love him. In college, he used every means possible to chase my roommate Jiang Siju. Luxury gifts came one after another, even ostentatiously presenting 9,000 roses under our dorm building. All the girls in our dorm benefited, carrying armfuls of roses back like we were transporting a flower nursery. Only Jiang Siju remained expressionless. She even warned Pei Lu not to come looking for her again. He's very rich and not bad-looking. You really don't want him? With a facial mask on, I finally asked the question I'd never understood. With such a pretty face, she spent every day hanging out with that senior who worked odd jobs everywhere. No way. If you want this mature, rigid type, you go chase him. Jiang Siju said disdainfully. Resting my chin in my hands, I thought for a moment before nodding. Fine. I'll chase him. Jiang Siju's expression changed slightly, but she didn't respond further. After removing the mask, I washed my face and went downstairs. She already has a boyfriend. Holding an umbrella, I saw Pei Lu standing like a loyal puppy outside the dorm building, gazing affectionately at our dorm. I couldn't help but add another comment. He froze for a moment, adjusted the gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, and apologized. Sorry, I didn't know. Jiang Siju actually didn't tell him. He lowered his head gloomily and tried to toss the black rose in his hand into the trash can. Holding the umbrella, I watched the flowers getting soaked in the rain and felt it was such a waste. Black roses, I like those. Wait, don't throw it away. Give it to me. Looking at the rain-soaked black rose, he gave a self-deprecating smile and handed it over. All right. At that moment, his white shirt was drenched by the rain, clinging tightly to his faintly visible abs. Clean, well-mannered, with abs tall, obedient. Most importantly, wealthy. To be honest, he was just my type. Hey. I called out to him. He turned around, confused. I don't have a boyfriend yet. Chase me. I held up the umbrella and extended it towards him, sheltering him from the rain. I'm not bad-looking. I keep regular hours and maintain a healthy lifestyle. I run 6 kilometers every morning, eat healthy meals at night, and use facial masks daily for skincare. Far more people have pursued me than Jiang Siju, but I've rejected them all. He removed his gold-rimmed glasses and quietly studied me. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, long enough for his assistant to arrive with an umbrella, long enough for his car to pull up at the dormitory entrance. All right. He noted down my number before leaving. I turned and headed upstairs. I'd researched Pei Lu's background. He started his own business right after graduation, and his company kept expanding. Once he inherits the Pei Group, he'll be very wealthy. That's why I couldn't understand Jiang Siju. Maybe it's because my parents constantly fought over money before divorcing, but my top criterion for a partner is financial stability. With money, there's no need to argue over household expenses. Back in the dorm, Jiang Siju's expression darkened when she saw the flowers in my hand. No need to be troubled anymore. He won't bother you again. I put down the flowers and said to her while drying my hair. I thought she would sigh in relief or feel unburdened, but instead her expression darkened further. Yuri's so shameless. She cursed at me. Jiang Siju's voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough to instantly silence the entire dorm room. My hair-drying motion paused, and the towel in my hand fell to the ground, splashing a puddle of water. I've never been one for physical confrontations, but at that moment I still slapped her. Neither of us were the type to lose control of our emotions, but that day there was something in her eyes, an emotion suppressed to its limit. I couldn't decipher it, nor did I want to. Our roommates were terrified. Some tried to mediate, some held us back, some said I went too far, while others accused her of double standards. But I truly didn't understand. She clearly said she didn't want it, clearly said it was a nuisance. So how did it turn into stealing the moment I took it? From that day on, she moved out of the dorm and later almost completely cut off contact with me. I didn't dwell on it much either. Some said I was immoral, others said Jiang Siju was. I still don't understand. She said Pei Lu's pursuit was a burden to her. She said she didn't want it. Then when I accepted it, why did she get angry? Being angry is one thing, but insulting people, that I couldn't tolerate. Occasionally I'd hear about her being with her boyfriend, some saying they made a perfect handsome couple. Online there were even people shipping her with that senior student. Meanwhile, my interactions with Pei Lu actually increased. He wasn't good at expressing emotions, but was impeccably polite and restrained in manner, quickly becoming a hot topic on campus forums. I became a presence by his side, rumors growing like wild grass. But I didn't care. I'd known from the beginning exactly what I wanted. On our wedding day, Pei Lu arrived last minute after being busy, standing before me in his perfectly tailored suit, like a precisely calibrated instrument fresh from debugging. The wedding was grand, with 1/3 of the guest list being names I barely recognized. I smiled appropriately, carried myself gracefully. In every camera shot, there wasn't a single flaw to be found in me. I still don't know how he convinced his parents to agree to marry me. No wealthy alliance, no social equivalence. His parents were the refined, cultured type. None of the disdain or contempt I'd imagined. Instead, they gave us their sincerest blessings. May you support each other in the future and nurture both this marriage and your own lives well. After marriage, I lived very comfortably. Pei Lu was truly wealthy. How wealthy? Companies under his name spanned the globe. He traveled by private jet, signed contracts worth billions. Marrying him was the shrewdest decision I ever made. He didn't understand romance, nor did he understand me. He never wrote me love letters, never called late at night to say he missed me. Even on Valentine's Day, he'd just have his assistant send flowers. He was the quintessential old cadre type of husband, calm, disciplined, dull. Perhaps all his past passion and fervor had been spent on Jiang Siju. Being with him felt like I married a money-making machine. Your husband's away again. What's the use of having so much money if he's never home? You must be so lonely. Su Yifang is my childhood friend, though we've seen less of each other after my marriage. The moment she arrived, she felt indignant on my behalf, thinking my husband spent too little time with me. I disagreed and took her aboard my private jet. How could I be lonely? This world is so vast. I should thank my husband for working so hard, enabling me to see it. Anywhere in the world, whenever I wish, I can indulge in the most luxurious experiences. Lonely? How? My friend's expression darkened, and she finally just shook her head. I still believe being together is what matters most for a couple, even through hardships. I didn't understand. In fact, I was stunned. There were actually people who thought like Jiang Siju. But I still felt somewhat downcast. Maybe, in their eyes, I was the odd one. I think you've changed. You're no longer the Shen Tinglan I knew when we were kids. Flustered by my gaze, she tossed out those words and stomped away angrily. She was right, I had changed. At first, I'd take her on trips, covering all expenses and giving her a supplementary card for beauty treatments. But she always felt awkward, insisting I calculate every expense, unwilling to take advantage. Even after I repeatedly reassured her, and even when Pei Lu spoke up, urging her to spend more time with me with expenses reimbursed, she still refused. When my assistant provided discounted cost estimates, she'd pale at the high prices and demand invoices, suspicious. She'd snipe that the assistant was trying to scam her. Over time, I stopped inviting her as often. After marriage, my social circles had completely shifted. I was swamped between trips for relaxation. I enrolled in countless courses, from flower arrangement and French to financial management, studying diligently. Not for interest, but just in case something happens in the future, I won't leave empty-handed. I heard Shin Siju had broken up with that senior of hers, and she even started working at one of Pei Lu's subsidiary companies. If one day Pei Lu remembers his earth-shattering first love, that white moonlight, and demands a divorce, I can't go into battle unprepared. Although taking half the assets in a divorce seems unrealistic, I want to secure as much as possible. I'd still need to learn how to manage whatever I get. So I've been very busy. When I returned from Country R, Su Yifang came over. Shin Tinglan, your white moonlight is back. Your first love is back. And now he's loaded. You married Pei Lu for money back then. Now you can divorce him and marry Lu Yanchu. All these years he never contacted you, but you've always been in his heart. Coincidentally, Pei Lu also returned the same day I came back to the country. He heard every single word. He stood at the entrance hall, impeccably dressed in a suit, his expression calm, with little discernible emotion in his eyes. Su Yifang turned around and immediately turned pale, hurriedly standing up with an awkward smile. President Pei, you're back. I was just joking earlier. Tinglan wouldn't really. I didn't take it seriously. His tone was calm as he entered, still wearing his suit, carrying a gift box from his business trip. Nor did I take it to heart. He lowered his eyes and placed the gift box in front of me. You mentioned wanting to try Hokkaido milfai last time. I brought some. My eyes flickered, but my fingers didn't move. My schedule assistant must have reported to him. He knew I was returning today and came back specifically for this. I knew his schedule was tight. It couldn't have been easy to make time to return. Thank you. I heard him give a faint amen before turning to go upstairs. Sitting on the sofa, staring at the exquisitely perfect milfai before me, I suddenly found it as tasteless as chewing wax. Su Yifang had long since fled. She hadn't expected Pei Lu to return ahead of schedule. Even less had she expected that he was far from being that wooden husband who doesn't care about anything. Actually, I'd known all along. I know he treats me very well. It's just that kind of good, not romantic enough, not passionate enough, not heart-fluttering enough, too bland. Like me, he's the type of person with extreme self-discipline. Two similar people rarely spark anything. The only perfect match is his body, toned with abs when undressed, comparable to a top male model, and astonishingly strong at night. Even in the most intimate moments, he strictly controls the pace, self-disciplined to the point of severity, yet leaving me no room for complaint. Thinking about separating in the future, I inexplicably feel a hint of loss. I didn't take Su Yifang's words seriously at all. Who could compare to Pei Lu, no matter how rich? The white moonlight, Lu Yanchu she mentioned, was just one of my pursuers in college. He pursued me. I said I wasn't interested, yet he told others I'd agreed. When he kept pestering me, I bluntly said I'd only marry someone wealthy. Rumors are hard to dispel. Somehow it got twisted into him being my white moonlight. Ridiculous. Yet the next day, Lu Yanchu actually contacted me. The text message was carefully and restrainedly worded. Lanzi, it's Lu Yanchu. Can we meet? I have something to say to you. Such a disgusting nickname. I didn't reply, but my heart was indeed stirred. Not because of love, but because I saw him as a ticking bomb. If not handled carefully, he could become a hidden fuse in my marriage, one that might explode one day and ruin my life. I knew that if the media got wind of this unresolved old flame drama, it would be a fatal blow to me. I'm not love-struck. I'm fully aware that if I want to maintain my current life, I can't afford any mistakes. Before Pei Lu brings up divorce, I certainly don't want one. When I went to the meeting, Su Yifang was also there, inviting me for a drink. Lu Yanchu only had a few glasses. I hesitated for a moment before taking a sip. To be honest, the wine was terrible. Nowhere near as good as even the most ordinary bottle from Pei Lu's wine collection. I took a sip and refused the rest. As expected, cheap liquor isn't drinkable. Just one small sip made me dizzy, seeing double images of their faces. I slumped over the table, hearing their conversation in a daze. Darling, you're not allowed to actually touch her. We agreed just taking photos would be enough, otherwise I'll get jealous. The kind that can't be coaxed back. Su Yifang's voice sounded nasal, as if she had a cold. Who was she calling darling? Why suddenly use such a nauseating tone? Don't worry, baby, we're just taking photos and recording a video. With this, securing the Pei Corporation's cooperation will be guaranteed. Lu Yanchu. My already foggy brain nearly short-circuited. Su Yifang and Lu Yanchu. I pressed the shortcut key on my phone. Just as Lu Yanchu's filthy hands were about to touch me, the bodyguards Pei Lu arranged entered. Sister Lan, are you all right? The two before me were surrounded by other security personnel as the restaurant was quickly secured. What are you doing? I'm Shen Tinglan's best friend. We grew up together. What do you think you're doing? Sui Fang panicked. She had been to my house several times and seen many staff members, yet she didn't know I always traveled with bodyguards. Perhaps I never imagined that my so-called best friend would collude with outsiders to scheme against me. What did she want? I couldn't understand. If she truly wanted cooperation, she could have just asked. I would have helped. Why go through such elaborate trouble to frame me? Sorry, Shen Tinglan is our schoolmate. We just had a good chat and drank a few too many glasses. She got drunk. It's all a misunderstanding. Lu Yanchu began to panic too. While maintaining a calm facade, his voice was already trembling. The bodyguards retrieved the restaurant surveillance footage and made a copy right in front of them. My head was spinning, so dizzy that I felt my body floating. When I opened my eyes again, Pei Lu was holding me. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes as if he'd pulled an all-nighter. Husband. My voice trembled slightly. The glass has been sent for testing, he said quietly. They will go to prison. I stared at him blankly, feeling a sudden tremble in my heart. When Pei Lu was ruthless, it was terrifyingly cold. It was the first time I'd seen him show his emotions so openly. The always refined Pei Lu tore off his tie. This version of Pei Lu was unprecedented, like tearing off his gentlemanly mask to reveal a darker side. Pei Lu, is this really my composed, restrained and steady husband? I murmured softly, calling his name. Whether my words touched some sore spot or not, I ended up crying in the end. Sleepless through the night, I was nearly exhausted. No way. Is he sick or something? Could it be that hearing Shen Siju's news stirred some unusual emotions in him? My guess was correct. Shen Siju had been transferred to headquarters. Sister Lan. News from Haisher. Jiang Siju and Chen Song broke up a month ago. Recently, President Pei will be staying at headquarters for a long time. He won't leave until the project ends. With them bumping into each other all the time, what should we do if they meet? The assistant had worked under Pei Lu for many years before being transferred to me as my personal assistant after marriage. She knew about Pei Lu's pursuit of Jiang Siju during their university days. Jiang Siju's appearance made her feel more threatened and anxious than I did. Having worked with me for several years, if I were to divorce Pei Lu, her position would become extremely awkward. I continued painting, not particularly concerned. Even if I were, there was nothing to be done. It's not like I could prevent them from ever seeing each other. The destructive power of a white moonlight. Sister Lan, don't you understand? The assistant sighed deeply. My hand trembled slightly, causing a stroke to go awry. Though barely noticeable, the misplaced line remained visible on the canvas. Even without Pei Lu, I could still afford to keep you. I tried to reassure my assistant. Yet she looked even more defeated, as if convinced that Jiang Siju's return as the white moonlight would deal a devastating blow to my marriage. This unfortunate girl told her I could support her, yet she still wouldn't believe me. Recently, the assistant kept hinting that I should visit the company. I was originally very busy, but I still made time to go to headquarters. When I came here, I passed by the administration building and saw a group of people waiting by the elevator from afar. A man stood among them. I didn't pay much attention at first until that tall, aloof figure slowly turned around. It was Pei Lu. He was dressed in a light gray suit, meticulously tailored, his expression indifferent as his fingers lightly tapped on his phone screen. He looked like he had stepped out of a magazine, composed, unyielding, and unapproachable. This version of Pei Lu was actually quite rare for me to see. Sister Lan, the assistant whispered, gently tugging my sleeve and nodding toward a woman discreetly hiding behind a pillar. Look over there, is that Jiang Siju? I followed her gesture. Behind the pillar, indeed, stood a figure, half concealed. It was Jiang Siju. Jiang Siju wore a flowing white dress, her slender neck adorned with a work badge. Her makeup was understated, her hair styled into a gentle princess updo, with a pink bow hair clip pinned to the side. She stood sideways by the pillar, yet her eyes remained unblinking as they fixed on Pei Lu. That gaze was indescribable, dazed yet intricate, like seeing a long-lost lover after years apart. For some reason, I disliked that look. It felt as if someone had set their sights on something I kept close, stirring an instinct to push her away. The two female colleagues beside her seemed oblivious to the tension. "Mr. Pei is personally overseeing today's meeting. It'll probably run late. The project's too massive. After all, he's the chairman's son, taking charge himself to avoid mistakes. Sigh, a man worth hundreds of millions. I'll just steal a few more glances for some luck. At those words, I noticed Jiang Siju's pupils constrict sharply, her lips bitten nearly bloodless. Watching her heartbroken expression, I understood she regretted it. Of course. The pure love warrior of her university days, now tempered by society, had finally realized what she'd let slip away. The elevator doors slowly closed, Pei Lu's figure disappearing into the steel gap without pause or hesitation. Jiang Siju stood frozen in place, her face turning pale. "Hey, Siju, are you all right?" She shook her head and forced a weak smile. "I'm fine, just suddenly feeling a bit dizzy. No one knew what was going through her mind at that moment. Neither did I. Just as I hadn't understood before, I still didn't understand now. After some thought, I didn't disturb the secretary or take Pei Lu's private elevator, opting instead to discreetly ride the regular elevator with my assistant. Jiang Siju and her colleagues slowly made their way in. She kept her head down, distractedly scrolling through her phone. Perhaps something on the screen unsettled her, leaving her swaying unsteadily. Otherwise, I think she would have recognized me, even with my sunglasses on. But standing at the back with my assistant, she remained oblivious, lost in her daze, head still lowered. Her unusual behavior aroused suspicion among colleagues, and one particularly thoughtless person actually read aloud the messages on her phone. "Honey, can we really not negotiate about the bride price anymore? You know my family's situation. We genuinely can't afford $288,000. In our area, many bride prices are only $128,000. An eerie silence fell over the elevator. The air seemed to freeze solid. The female colleague who had read the messages also realized her gaffe and awkwardly shut her mouth. Meanwhile, Jiang Siju's face drained of color as if she'd been publicly skinned alive. A flush of humiliation briefly rose on her face, then rapidly faded, leaving behind a bloodless gray pallor. Had I known things would turn out like this back in university, I would never have rejected lawyer Pei no matter what. Her voice was quiet, as if murmuring to herself or launching an instinctive counterattack under sudden emotional strain. I tilted my head to glance at her. She actually brought up lawyer Pei. The assistant covered her mouth, looking at me with nervous tension. Jiang Siju's two colleagues exchanged glances, their expressions rapidly shifting from shock to gossip. "Seriously, you and President Pei had a thing before." Jiang Siju took a breath and nodded slightly, with a hint of shy pride. "It's true. If you don't believe me, check the Heisher University forum. Back then, he bought over 9,000 roses to pursue me. That post is probably still there. 9,000 roses still couldn't win you over." Jiang Siju's smile faltered for a moment. At that instant, her eyelashes lowered as if someone had tugged at her nerves. The female colleague immediately took out her phone to search, and indeed found this sensational news in old posts, though the photos were no longer available. Still, the replies confirmed Pei Lu's pursuit of Jiang Siju. Rich guy splurges 9,000 roses to pursue department beauty Jiang Siju. I was there. The spectacle was insane. I just wish it had been me. Another one bites the dust. So what if he's rich? The department beauty clearly wasn't interested. She rejected him and gave all the roses to everyone in the girls' dorm. Hesitantly asking, "Why is this rich guy chasing the department beauty instead of the campus belle? Aren't they from the same dorm?" The female colleague silently put away her phone after scrolling through several pages, sensing something was off. No way. I heard President Pei's wife also graduated from Haida University. Jiang Siju listened, her palms turning white from how tightly her nails dug into them. Only when pain surged through her did she barely manage to regain composure. "He is married?" she asked hoarsely. "Long married?" You came late so you wouldn't know. Everyone in our company received a 999 yuan red envelope at that time. It was personally given by President Pei, symbolizing everlasting love with his wife. The company group chat exploded. Hundreds of thousands of blessings flooded in. That scene was truly something else. I even saw his wife's Instagram, traveling by private helicopter, President Pei driving a Pullman while she drives a Dawn, living that indisputable high society life. I heard she's campus belle level beautiful. I raised an eyebrow. It seems I should keep a lower profile on Instagram from now on. At this moment, Jiang Siju's eyes were frighteningly red, her fingers clenched so tight they turned white. From her expression, she must have guessed that the one who ultimately married Pei Lu was me. Shen Tinglan. I know her, we were roommates back then. When Pei Lu was pursuing me, I was still hesitating, but she just went ahead and confessed to him directly. I thought her behavior was inappropriate, but then she suddenly slapped me across the face. Who knows what she told Pei Lu? Anyway, that same day he inexplicably blocked me. As she spoke this, Jiang Siju trembled with rage, gritting her teeth, her eyes brimming with intense hatred. The other people in the elevator pricked up their ears. The air seemed to freeze, no one dared speak, yet everyone's eyes reflected shock. I heard my assistant swallow hard, even her breathing became shallow. Standing in the corner, I flexed my fingers. To be honest, I really felt like impulsively slapping her right then. But reason suppressed the impulse. If action were taken and news broke out, giving Pei Group's competitors even a spark, it could likely ignite a wildfire, ultimately affecting Pei LV and even the stock price. Siju, since you know President Pei, why don't you help me deliver these meeting documents to the executive office's secretariat? The female colleague handed over the file. Yuri so beautiful. If President Pei sees you, he probably won't be able to look away. She said with a suggestive wink, the implication obvious. Jiang Siju froze for a moment, then curved her lips into a perfectly measured smile. Today she was wearing a white dress with light makeup, her hair styled in a half-up princess twist, a bow hair clip accentuating her gentle grace. All right then, she said softly. I wonder if he still remembers me. She seemed slightly uneasy, but more than that, there was a composed air of premeditation. I remained standing where I was. The assistant glanced at me, took in my pitch-black sunglasses, and eventually quietly edged away, even holding her breath. Of course I remember. To be honest, you're like a white moonlight-level figure. How could anyone forget? But honestly, I can't even imagine what our President Pei is like in private. Just one glance from him makes my legs go weak like I've committed some grave mistake. Jiang Siju chuckled, her tone unhurried with a hint of intimacy. Well, he's actually very kind and gentlemanly. You'll understand once you interact with him more. The assistant standing beside me looked like she was barely suppressing the urge to roll her eyes. I stood silently without speaking. I just noticed something rather intriguing in her words. Since being transferred to headquarters, she hasn't had the chance to meet Pei Lu yet. The elevator stopped at the 97th floor. They stepped out first. The reception secretary's expression turned frosty upon seeing them, her voice icy. How did you get up here? Jiang Siju froze, weary here to deliver documents. What delivery? Just leave it at the reception. Which department are you from? How did you get in here? Who let you in without authorization? The secretary spoke bluntly, her eyes brimming with obvious impatience and wariness. After all, the 97th floor was a restricted core zone. No entry without special approval. The girl beside Jiang Siju trembled in fear, while Jiang Siju herself paled slightly. Just as she was about to explain, the secretary suddenly noticed me. Her movements froze, and her expression instantly transformed. She straightened up almost immediately, her tone shifting to one of utmost deference, as if she were a different person. Good afternoon, madam. President Pei is in a meeting. Would you like to wait in his office? I nodded. The secretary promptly stepped forward to guide me, her manner reverently respectful. Jiang Siju stood frozen in place, as if struck by lightning, her face blank with shock. A storm of emotions flashed through her eyes: intense disbelief, confusion, and barely suppressed resentment. She recognized me. Her female colleague beside her turned even paler, faintly recalling those words spoken in the elevator amidst her terror, feeling chills running down her spine. Just now, they had actually been discussing him right in front of President Pei's wife. When the 97th floor lit up in the elevator earlier, she had felt somewhat suspicious. But since the documents needed to be submitted before leaving work and applying was too troublesome, she had thought to take a shortcut by hitching a ride to the 97th floor. Upon hearing Jiang Siju's words, she had pulled another scapegoat. After the 76th floor, only the four of them remained in the elevator. She had glanced fleetingly at the time. After all, such an alluring and cold beauty was truly impossible to ignore, though the dark sunglasses and icy expression made her dare not look too frequently. Little did she expect that this was actually President Pei's wife. In real life, she was even more beautiful than on Instagram. I didn't speak, brushing past the two of them. At least now, she has to watch people's expressions just to go upstairs, and gets shooed away even when delivering documents. This shows there's still a vast distance between her and Lawyer Pei. Very well. The lethality of the white moonlight seems to be just so after all. Shen Tinglan, aren't you going to say anything? If it weren't for me back then, do you think you'd even be qualified? Would it ever be your turn? Probably infuriated by being ignored, Shen Tinglan shouted loudly. The entire secretariat staff simultaneously looked up in our direction. I stopped in my tracks and slowly took off my sunglasses. Where's the chief secretary? A woman in a well-tailored suit walked over briskly. With a wave of her hand, two people escorted Jiang Siju and her female colleague away. Very undignified, Jiang Siju angrily warned me to wait and see. The assistant coldly reminded the chief secretary, "Don't let her come up to the CEO's office again in the future." Actually, the reminder was unnecessary. I've never regarded Jiang Siju as worthy of attention. My coming here was merely to discern Pei Lu's true intentions. If a single glance from her could stir his heart, then there's no need to desperately cling to this marriage. Pei Lu is an extremely disciplined man. If he still harbored lingering feelings for Jiang Siju, he would have taken some action. With his business acumen, if he wanted a divorce and she remained unprepared, she'd be kicked out in the most humiliating manner possible. He never shows mercy to business rivals. I sat down in Pei Lu's office, as luxurious as ever, complete with a master bedroom, golf simulator, cigar lounge, billiard table, and even an arcade. I never understood his hobbies. Learning his meeting would last 2 hours, I decided to take the opportunity to rest. The assistant scooted closer. "Sister Lan, did you notice? Jiang Siju's outfit today somewhat resembles what you wore in college." Pausing dramatically, she eagerly pulled out her phone. "I have an old photo I took. Because of this shot, CEO Pei rewarded me with a month's salary." She excitedly scrolled through tens of thousands of photos. "I've been extremely busy lately. To avoid being caught off guard, I squeezed out time to come to the company to understand the situation, which genuinely exhausted me. I casually glanced around as drowsiness overwhelmed me, and I fell into a deep sleep on the leather sofa. I was woken by a kiss. The moment I opened my eyes, Pei Lu was still loosening his tie with one hand while the other braced beside me, leaning down for a deep kiss. There was no escape. I nearly suffocated. Damn, trying to murder me now to make way for his white moonlight. I bit him. He released me with a pained grunt, rubbing the corner of his mouth before murmuring, "Why are you here?" My visits to the company to see Pei Lu could be counted on one hand, and his question carried an oddly aggrieved tone. "I heard Jiang Siju was transferred here. I came to see for myself." My gaze locked onto him, unwilling to miss even a flicker of his emotions. The man known for his razor-sharp ruthlessness in business briefly showed confusion before a thoughtful smile tugged at his lips. I stared at the slightly upturned corner of his lips, the spot I had just bitten red, nearly breaking the skin, which looked particularly glaring. He smiled. I sighed softly in my heart. It seems this marriage will most likely end in divorce. I suppose I should consult a lawyer in detail when I get back. If all else fails, I could install a camera. If Pei Lu commits marital infidelity, I should be able to claim more. While I was still meticulously planning in my mind, I was suddenly pulled into Pei Lu's embrace. He nuzzled against my hair. When her name came up suddenly earlier, I didn't react immediately. Seeing you jealous makes me happy. What a sick man. Me. Jealous. Enough, I have class tonight. I wriggled out of his arms. This atmosphere felt strange and uncomfortable. I went to straighten my clothes and hair. My assistant always says I'm too meticulous. Even my feet are kept fair and delicate. No matter the occasion, I'm always immaculate. Staring at my reflection in the mirror, I reapplied my lipstick. She was absolutely right. I never allow myself the slightest slack, just like my daily 6-kilometer jog that never stops. So I came to see if Pei Lu was still worth keeping. When I stepped out, Pei Lu had also straightened himself, his jacket draped aside, wearing a shirt with his tie neatly retied, sitting upright at his desk, signing documents with a fountain pen. Seeing me emerge, he adjusted the gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, exuding that authoritative, old-school executive aura once again. I'm flying to Country F the day after tomorrow, for about 2 months. I stated it briefly, as if delivering a routine report. His pen paused mid-signature. He looked up at me deeply but said nothing. I glanced at him, swiping absently on my phone screen, until the timid knock of the assistant shattered the silent tension. Let's go. I stood up. The assistant clutched my bag, trailing nervously behind me. Sister Lan, President Pei seems upset. She nearly held her breath the moment she entered earlier. I hummed in acknowledgement. His mood was none of my concern. Having been in the business world for so many years, Pei Lu, a seasoned professional, rarely lets his emotions show easily. But even the assistant could tell he was upset from his cold expression. So it must be directed at me. Sister Lan, look at this photo. The assistant eagerly pulled out her phone like she was presenting a treasure, showing me the picture. At first, I only glanced casually. The photo captured a summer dusk, a tilted umbrella shielding a man's head, me standing beside him, holding a bouquet of dark roses in my arms. The lens froze the moment our eyes met. I remember that day. It was raining, and the slanting sunlight broke through the clouds. I looked at him and smiled. Send me the photo. I snapped back to reality and put on my sunglasses. The assistant worked at lightning speed. About a minute later, she was spinning excitedly. Who could have guessed? One photo earned her 2 bonuses. Sister Lan, I love you. I ignored her, lost in the past the photo had brought back. The assistant drove while taking several deep breaths to calm herself down. Lan Jie, look at this hairpin in your photo, your hairstyle. Doesn't Jiang Siju's look today resemble yours a lot? After my assistant said this, I felt inexplicably irritated. I suddenly remembered that day when I stopped him and said, I don't have a boyfriend, chase me. But I don't remember ever wearing such a white dress. Nor do I remember using a bow hairpin. Yet today's Jiang Siju, from her hair to her dress hem, from her makeup to her demeanor, was almost identical. In an instant, something collapsed. My heart felt like it was being slowly pierced by an icy needle. Not painful, but chilling. Dripping water wears through stone. At this moment, I heard something in my heart finally shatter. Let's talk tonight. Just as I was fuming, Pei Lu's text message popped up. My usual calm and indifference broke at this moment. Talk about what? Divorce. I threw my phone aside. Book me a flight ticket for tonight, anywhere. I need to calm down. The little assistant stole a glance at my expression, puzzled by how suddenly icy and intimidating I had become. No going home, no attending classes. The only moment of losing composure was probably now, boarding the plane with my documents in hand. After landing, the hotel manager came to pick me up. As soon as I turned on my phone, countless missed calls from lawyer Pei flooded in. Looking at them, I felt extremely irritated. The divorce agreement is ready. It's in the second drawer of the bookcase. Review it yourself. Any issues can be discussed and handled by the legal department. Whether to announce the marriage news is entirely up to you. I drafted a text message. After sending it, I turned off my phone. Divorce isn't that simple. It's bound to be messy. Thankfully, I had insisted on delaying having children and always used contraception. Otherwise, it would have been even harder to separate with a child involved. I soaked myself in the bathtub, unwilling to get out even when the water turned cold. Meanwhile, Lawyer Pei was absolutely furious. What happened today? Lawyer Pei's darkened expression was terrifying. The assistant hadn't seen Pei Lu like this in a long time. Though his voice wasn't loud, it weighed on her so heavily she could barely breathe. Today, Jiang Siju, you remember her, President Pei. That girl you pursued in college, the one you sent 9,000 customized roses to. She came to the executive office looking for you and happened to run into Sister Lan. In the elevator, she accused Sister Lan of stealing her boyfriend back then and even claimed Sister Lan slapped her. She also said it was her who made your relationship possible. Oh right, Jiang Siju even shouted at Sister Lan, saying things like, "Shenting Lan, aren't you going to say anything? If it weren't for me back then, do you think you'd be worthy? Would it even be your turn?" The assistant mimicked Jiang Siju's tone while speaking, capturing it perfectly, though her exaggerated grimace was a bit too intense. Pei Lu's eyes flickered with dark intensity. His expression instantly turned frighteningly cold. He picked up his phone and dialed the internal line. Within 10 minutes, add Jiang Siju to the Pei Group's permanent blacklist, including all wholly owned subsidiaries. Reject all employment and cooperation, permanently, for any position or project. The other party was startled. President Pei. Remove the nominal investor, freeze all approved budgets, halt the project, and withdraw all advertisements. He spoke word by word in an even tone, as if discussing the weather, yet the temperature in the entire office floor seemed to plummet. If she dares to climb up by stepping on my wife's face, she should know the consequences. He stubbed out his cigarette, stood up, his voice low and steely. When did she start drafting the divorce papers? After hanging up the phone, Pei Lu thought of that text message, feeling a sharp pang in his heart. The assistant's eyes widened. Knowing she couldn't hide it, she had to speak bluntly. When Jiang Siju broke up with Chen Song. The air seemed to briefly pause. Just as the assistant was about to suffocate from the tension, he lightly flicked his fingers, casually gesturing toward the door. He was telling her to leave. The assistant felt as if a weight had been lifted. Glancing back, she couldn't shake the feeling that President Pei looked like he was about to shatter. The assistant, frantically calling Shenting Lan, yet the phone remained powered off. I was awakened by the doorbell. Stepping out of the bathtub, a chill ran through my body. I've been exhausted lately, always fatigued. I actually fell asleep in the tub. Outside the door stood Pei Lu, looking weary and haggard. Shenting Lan. He enunciated my name syllable by syllable. Then he pulled me into his embrace, squeezing so tight I nearly suffocated. What are you doing here? If I remember correctly, headquarters has been extremely busy recently. He's been personally overseeing a project. How could he suddenly appear here? He lowered his head and tore open her bathrobe. Like a crazed beast. I pushed against him but couldn't break free at all. After the chaos, he still held me, his hands tightening like vices, trembling slightly. Dream on if you think I'll agree to divorce. I didn't understand. Pei Lu. My voice came out hoarse but cold as frost. He instinctively held me even tighter. Shenting Lan, I said I wanted to talk to you about your friend Su Yifang. Truly a businessperson, their mind works fast. My attention was instantly diverted. Even though I hadn't asked about it lately, it had been weighing on my mind. Why did she treat me this way? I couldn't understand it. She took the blame for everything. Lu Yanchu walked away clean, and Su Yifang will go to prison. Pei Lu looked at me almost pityingly. I don't have many friends. Su Yifang is the only one. We grew up together, had our petty fights, but in the end, I always gave in to her. She's stubborn, keeps things bottled up inside. If I ever ignored her, she'd be the one hiding away to cry. I stared at the ceiling, momentarily lost. Why? I couldn't figure it out. When something's beyond my understanding, I stop obsessing over it. The fact remains, Su Yifang betrayed me. This time I won't forgive her. But I glanced up at Pei Lu. He clearly took Su Yifang's words to heart, yet claimed he didn't take them seriously. He wasn't my first love. When pursuing me, he spread some rumors. Angered, I warned him. This must be his revenge. I sighed. Lu Yanchu was very handsome with many admirers, which is why he couldn't accept my rejection, and even held a grudge. He deliberately spread rumors about us being together, then got provoked when I married someone wealthy. Driven by resentment, he succeeded in starting his own business abroad, probably intending to come back and humiliate me, only to find what he had achieved meant nothing to me. So to get revenge, he pursued Su Yifang, who would have otherwise been beyond his reach. After his persistent courtship, Su Yifang fell for him. This was also why Su Yifang secretly got together with him behind my back, ultimately attempting to conspire against me. Like me, Su Yifang didn't have a happy family growing up. She always longed for a home of her own. A man as calculating as Lu Yanchu could see through people's hearts with ease. That's why he managed to make Su Yifang completely fall for him at first move, drowning helplessly in the illusory dream he constructed for her. She was even willing to go to prison for him. However, going to such great lengths just for revenge seemed illogical. I frowned slightly. "How's Lu Yanchu's company doing?" I asked. "No match for the Pei Group." Pei Lu answered swiftly. How many companies could possibly rival the Pei Group? What was he trying to say? He clearly understood what I was asking. I stared at him expressionlessly. His company's funding chain has issues. No wonder. I want to make Lu Yanchu lose everything. When it comes to corporate warfare, Pei Lu is the trump card. Roger that, wife. The corners of his lips curved up as he rested his chin on my shoulder, suddenly in high spirits. This version of Pei Lu was rare even for me to see. Perhaps I had never truly understood him. Maybe because he agreed so readily. After some thought, I decided to give him a friendly reminder. You should go find Jiang Siju. She's currently broken up with her boyfriend over dowry issues. You wouldn't even need 9,000 roses now. She'd go with you. Hearing that name, his body stiffened for a moment. Why would I look for her? He said hoarsely. My wife is right here. True. Once you get used to a substitute. Seeing the look in my eyes, he grew frustrated. He gently bit my shoulder, cupped my face, exasperated yet helpless. Let me explain. I pursued her back then because I mistook her for someone else. The shrewd Pei Lu was reluctant to admit such an absurd and laughable beginning, but if this was what his wife cared about, he didn't mind revealing his embarrassing past. During Haida University's anniversary celebration, I passed by the music room and saw you playing the piano for a cat that day. That one glance, unforgettable for a lifetime. Pity, I was called away just as I wanted to get to know you. I told myself it didn't matter. I'd definitely run into you again. A trace of embarrassment flickered across his face. Later when I met Jiang Siju, she was wearing clothes you had worn before, dressed exactly like you. I thought it was you, so I started pursuing her. That was my first time liking someone, and as for how to pursue someone, all the strategies came from your current little assistant. Roses, handbags, lipstick. The first time we met, I asked her. Hello, my name is Pei Lu. I saw you yesterday in the music room. The way you played piano for the stray cats was enchanting. May I pursue you? Pei Lu, with his first crush, stood before Jiang Siju holding a bouquet of flowers, carefully choosing his words. No, if you like me because of the stray cats, I refuse. And I won't go play the piano anymore. Pei Lu was rejected. Frustrated, he told his assistant about what happened, thinking the freshly graduated young girl would understand women and know how to pursue them. Jiang Siju kept refusing him, but she never told him that it wasn't her who had been playing piano in the music room that day. Never told him she already had a boyfriend. Just watched silently as Pei Lu fell deeper into it. Until that day when you came down and said she had a boyfriend, I felt utterly dejected. But when you tilted the umbrella toward me and smiled in that white dress, It blurred together with that day's memory. I shamefully felt my heart stir. It felt so wrong. By instinct, I went to the music room at Haida University to confirm. It was you all along. I was overjoyed. So it was you. It's always been you I liked. He lowered his head. This affection isn't perfect. I'm such a failure, aren't I? I never dared bring it up. It's nothing to be proud of. But your roommate, she's truly unethical. You might not have noticed, but she mimics you. Her clothes, her style, everything. And she must have guessed I liked you. She deliberately misled me, confessing every time under your dorm building. Every time I imagined you watching those scenes from upstairs, I couldn't admit that fool was me. So I stayed silent. Being with you made me ecstatic to the point of madness. We got married. Shen Tinglan. He sighed. But I noticed you're always so clear-headed that you could detach from me at any moment. You love traveling, you love freedom. Just like how I love being at the company, love expanding my business empire bit by bit. I thought we'd stay like this forever. Yet you actually mentioned divorce. I don't agree. Shen Tinglan listened clearly. I don't agree. Ugh. His heartfelt confession was abruptly cut short by my nausea. I didn't dare look at Pei Lu's expression. I genuinely felt like vomiting. I held it in again and again but finally couldn't resist, rushing to the bathroom. By the time I came out, Pei Lu was already dressed. He took me to the hospital. On the way, I kept pondering over his confession. I thought Pei Lu loved Jiang Siju, and that I just happened to appear, a readily available girlfriend who showed up after his successive rejections by Jiang Siju. So I never discussed matters of the heart with Pei Lu. Pei Lu had also been carefully avoiding this topic. I thought we would continue muddling along like this, even preparing for the possibility of breaking up after Jiang Siju returned. I avoided Pei Lu's gaze. In the early morning, the air conditioning in the VIP ward was freezing. Miss Shen, congratulations, you're pregnant. The nurse's words came like a sudden blow. Both Pei Lu and I were stunned by the news. Neither of us had planned to have a child. I remembered, it was probably during that incident when Lu Yanchu tried to harm me. Pei Lu had acted like a madman and didn't use protection. Afterwards, I'd forgotten to take the pill. The two of us exchanged a glance. An awkward silence hung in the air. The nurse gave an embarrassed smile. For the first 3 months, be careful and avoid intercourse. She gave a whole list of instructions. I was still in a dazed, confused state, but Pei Lu was already listening attentively. Have the designer renovate 2 nursery rooms at home. Pei Lu's fingers slid across his phone as he sent a voice message to his assistant. Then he looked up at me. Shen Tinglan, do you think little Pei will take after me or you? Will it be a boy or a girl? If it's a boy, I'll teach him business from childhood, so he can avoid many detours when he grows up. The thought of a serious mini version of Pei sitting next to his office desk, signing documents without smiling, sent chills down my spine. A girl, I interrupted him. Pei Lu's lips curled slightly upward. Little Lan would definitely be adorable. My mind conjured an image of a rosy-cheeked little girl in a pink dress. I glanced at Pei Lu. This man was terrifyingly shrewd. With just 2 sentences, he had drawn me into envisioning our child, when just moments ago we were discussing divorce. Neither of us was ready to be parents and were still hesitating, yet he could instantly embrace this new identity. And he was guiding me to accept it too. After several minutes of contemplation in bed, I decided to have a proper talk with Pei Lu. I don't accept infidelity, including emotional affairs. If you develop feelings for someone else during our marriage, the assets will be divided into 3 parts. The child comes with me, and the child and I will take 2/3, leaving you with 1. Lawyer Pei took a deep breath. Fine. In truth, I knew this meant little to Lawyer Pei. With the Pei family behind him, he could always make a comeback. The very next day, Lawyer Pei's entire team flew here, triple their salaries with all travel and accommodation expenses covered. Once he finished work, he rushed over to see me. He even brought his legal team to draft the agreement I'd proposed the day before. Only after signing it did I finally relax. I couldn't quite describe how I felt. This was something I'd always wanted to do, but now that I actually had this security in hand, I didn't feel particularly happy. Lawyer Pei established a company in my name, hiring a professional management team to guide me step by step. I had written for a while before, so I picked things up quickly. Even Lawyer Pei was somewhat surprised. Shen Tinglan, if you'd entered the business world sooner, we might have been evenly matched. I neither confirmed nor denied, because I thought the same way. Perhaps it's also because all my current resources come from the Pei family. It's always easier when standing on the shoulders of giants. After establishing the company, I became extremely busy. Pei Lu often watched with bated breath, though seeing my rare smiles made him sigh in relief. Shen Tinglan, now that you have your own company, whether I'm here or not, you have the leverage to negotiate with me. We're equals now. Would you consider trying to love me? Pei Lu held the nutritional soup prepared by the dietitian. This tall man slightly hunched his shoulders, gazing at me with such nervous anticipation, as if awaiting my judgment. I remained silent. If this had been when we first got together, I might have casually blurted out, "I love you," even if I didn't mean it. But now, I found I couldn't bring myself to lie to him. Finally, I nodded. All right. The chairman of Pei Group and his wife distributed company benefits. It was said to celebrate the birth of their grandson. As I looked at the ugly, wrinkled little bundle, I didn't feel much maternal love. After all, I've seen other mothers holding their newborns and crying tears of joy. A miniature version of Pei Lu. No matter how I looked at it, it felt awkward. Little Pei, mommy loves you and daddy too. Pei Lu, so tall, looked particularly ridiculous holding the tiny bundle as he lowered his head to whisper in its ear. It seemed I was seeing yet another side of Pei Lu. I watched him and couldn't help curling my lips slightly. Do I love my husband? Before little Pei arrived, I could have said no, could have divorced any time. But as he explained, my heart gradually found release. The day I played music for Stray Cats was the day my parents divorced, when two families tore each other apart. It was also when my nearly broken self was being reshaped through piano notes. I never expected that moment would become frozen in someone else's world. Like someone picked up the broken pieces of me, patched them together and said, I like you. Love. Heart seems to be fluttering.